be right, and I may be wrong. Bring 'em home, bring 'em home. But I got a right to sing this song. Bring 'em home, bring 'em home. And if you love a world that's free, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. Bring them back from overseas. Bring 'em home, bring 'em home. Bring 'em home, bring 'em home. Bring 'em home, bring 'em home. Support our troops and say, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. Bring 'em home, bring 'em home. Bring 'em home, bring 'em home. Support our troops and say, bring 'em home, bring 'em home.
Alan Moberg is our first participant today. Alan.
Good morning, everybody. It's an old song that
I like this job.
Pete Seeger wrote. And here we go. Boy, my hands are cold, but help me out. If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning, I'd hammer in the evening, all over this land. I'd hammer out danger, I'd hammer out warning, I'd hammer out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. If I had a bell, I'd ring it in the morning, I'd ring it in the evening, all over this land. I'd hammer out danger, I'd hammer out a warning, I'd hammer out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. If I had a song, I'd sing it in the morning, I'd sing it in the evening, all over this land. It's a song of justice, it's a song of freedom, it's a song about love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. It's a song of justice, it's a song of freedom, it's a song about love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land, all over this land, all over this land.
Before I carry on, I just wanted to interpolate something. We have a message from Carol Greer, who is in Washington right now. So I'm going to try to give you a little bit of what she has to say. And this is from her. She's at the Winter Soldiers hearings, and staying at Code Pink Activist House from March 13 to 20. And she has a 15-block walk to Congress and the hearings. Now, I have here some good news for you, to you from our neighbors to the south. It's about a very special meeting called Winter Soldier that's taking place in Silver Spring, Maryland as we speak. It's a weekend meeting of veterans who have refused to continue serving in Iraq and Afghanistan, who have joined the organization Veterans Against War. What makes it so interesting and encouraging is not only that 200 vets from Iraq and Afghanistan are gathered to exchange stories of their experiences in those wars, but also the gathering is modeled on a similar gathering that took place in 1971, in which Vietnam vets against the war exchanged testimonies of their experiences in Vietnam. That gathering, which was the first Winter Soldier gathering, took place during the time the rebellion among military as well as civilians was building, was thought to influence a great many who were still undecided and to accelerate the end of the war. Excuse me. So this weekend event could be of great significance. Look up Winter Soldier on the internet and you'll have it. Let's see what else we have here. Carol notes that this is an illegal and immoral occupation of Iraq and Afghanistan that's affecting not only the civilian population of these countries, but also the courageous soldiers that have been co-opted and used, and these are her words, by a corrupt and imperial U.S. government. Hear, hear. I'm now going to ask Marion Pape to join us.
Hi, everybody. I want to thank Eilleen Wttewaall for pulling this all together. It's a really huge job, and it's just fabulous. And I want to thank everybody for coming here today. I can't believe that it's been 5 years since the U.S. invaded Iraq, and what a long 5 years that's been. And what has been happening in Canada as we play out our role in Afghanistan. But something else is happening, and that is the integration and coordination among many different groups to focus on the major issues of the day. Women, peace, and sustainability was a topic that was explored at the World Peace Forum. And it's a huge area and too big to explore in this short talk. But one thing that's becoming very clear is that we need to have a major consciousness shift if we're going to transform our society. There's a Dr. Thomas Homer Dixon, in a recent talk in Vancouver on sustainability, said, we have equated peace and freedom with continued economic growth. And he also said, this is just not going to continue to happen. And you know, so when you think about the forces that are upon us, with climate change as the single most important issue in our world, think of the consequences of not planning for a very different and peaceful future. Unsustainability is the term that probably sums up our predicament as a civilization. We simply cannot continue much longer on the path that we are following. If we don't do something to change things, the realities of a finite Earth will change them for us. Changing our agricultural methods are necessary. We need to convert to a sustainable energy regime. Our global system is dysfunctional, and the system cannot be fixed. It needs to be transformed, or it will bring transformation upon us by the collapse of our civilization and uncontrolled violence. Our global system, we can actually transform our societies. That's not insurmountable if we turned our full attention to it. However, part of the solution that we're doing here today is pretty evident. We bring ourselves, our community together in peace and justice. But the more insurmountable problem seems to be our political systems, which, except for some notable exceptions, act not in the interests of people generally, but act rather on behalf of self-serving elites. And they're taking control of our water, our media, energy supplies, food, health, care, etc. And they're aware of what's happening. In fact, they're well aware, and it's that very awareness that provides urgency to their agenda. And they're, they understand that they have to seize scarce resources and gain control over global affairs. Unfortunately, I am out of time. So what I wanted to say is, and I'll just finish with a quote from Frances Moore-Lappy. She's written in Time for Progressives to Grow Up. Do you remember Diet for a Small Planet? We've lived long under the spell of hierarchy, from god kings to feudal lords to party bosses, that only recently have we awakened to see not only that regular citizens have the capacity for self-governance, but that without their engagement, our huge global crisis cannot be addressed. The changes needed for human society simply to survive are so profound that the only way we will move toward them is if we ourselves, regular citizens, feel meaningful ownership of solutions through direct engagement. Our problems are too big, interrelated, and pervasive to yield to directives from on high. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marion. We're going to have a reading now by Murray Reiss.
Hi, everyone. I'm here kind of as an ambassador from what one of the poets I'm going to read from has called the Republic of Poetry. And to speak of poetry and war in the same breath is to be brought, and very abruptly, face to face with immense and inescapable disparities of power. Poetry, which always begins as the barely audible stirrings of the single and singular individual voice, and war, which is one of the greatest triumphs of mass organization and acquiescence that human societies have ever come up with. The two poems I'm going to read both teeter at the edge of this gap. They leave it to us to somehow cross it. First is by the American poet Hayden Carruth. He's a bit of a cranky New England poet now in his 80s. It's called On Being Asked to Write a Poem Against the War in Vietnam. Well, I have. And in fact, more than one. And I'll tell you this too. I wrote one against Algeria, that nightmare, and another against Korea, and another against the one I was in. And I don't remember how many, against the 3 when I was a boy, Abyssinia, Spain, and Harlan County. And not one breath was restored to one shattered throat, man's, woman's, or child's. Not one, not one. But death went on, never looking aside, except, now and then, with a furtive half-smile, to make sure I was noticing. Second poem is by Martín Espada, also an American poet. It describes an incident that took place in Chile, a country where he found poetry to be inseparable from the struggle for democracy. It's called The Soldiers in the Garden. After the coup, the soldiers appeared in Pablo Neruda's garden one night, raising lanterns to interrogate the trees, cursing at the rocks that tripped them. From the bedroom window, they could have been the conquistadores of drowned galleons, back from the sea to finish plundering the coast. The poet was dying. Cancer flashed through his body and left him rolling in the bed to kill the flames. Still, when the lieutenant stormed upstairs, Neruda faced him and said, "There's only one danger for you here, poetry." The lieutenant brought his helmet to his chest, apologized to Senor Neruda, and squeezed himself back down the stairs. The lanterns dissolved one by one from the trees. For 30 years, we have been searching for another incantation to make the soldiers vanish from the garden. Thank you.
Thank you, Murray. Sue Newman has a group of little people here who are going to give us a message.
These are 3 of my 6 students in junior theater for Stagecoach School of the Performing Arts. And this is Andrew and Gia and Hannah. This is about getting picked on, being yourself, and getting along.
and they lived happily ever after. Thank you very much, children. I'm now going to ask Eilleen Wttewaall to bring us a message. Watch Tom, you can do a T after right
oh,
there.
I see him. No, this is...
He should give you a 30 second.
Okay. I was reading the Guardian Weekly, so if any of you take it, you can see this is the current one. It talks about Satish Kumar, who you may have heard of. He's been considered a spiritual successor to Gandhi. When he was 19, in 1961, he and a friend did a peace walk to the four corners of the nuclear world. London, Paris, Moscow, Washington, 13,000 kilometers. What did it do? Well, it wore out dozens of pairs of shoes. Was it unrealistic? Satish Kumar says, or he asked the question, what have the realists done for us? They've led us to wars, poverty on an unimaginable scale, and wholesale ecological destruction. The environmental movement is logical and analytical, but it tends to drive us to doom and gloom. He assures us that our current social systems can be changed. They haven't been around that long, but we are all driven by fear. So we made panicked decisions, opting for nuclear war or for nuclear power and supporting wars. We support a culture of violence towards nature, animals, people, and ourselves. Satish Kumar founded Schumacher College in Devon, in Britain. He teaches the necessity of ecological and spiritual, not necessarily religious, values. He believes in the power of walking. In a car or any vehicle, we're disconnected. By walking, we connect with the earth. People are amazed that a small island could raise $1 million to save 20 acres of land here on Salt Spring. Other parts of our island are now healing because we are walkers, believing that we cherish what we experience. A philosopher once said, never trust an idea that didn't come by walking. Let's keep walking.
Thank you, Eilleen. Susan Cogan is now going to sing for us. We'll hope her fingers are warm enough. Everybody cold enough? Well, sometimes I get depressed and I feel like, well, there's nothing much you can do. It's the same old. And then other times I remember that who I am doesn't begin at the top of my head and end at the bottom of my feet. And that magical acts and acts of poetry, music, art, love, don't follow the rules of normal walking, of normal, what's the word I'm looking for? The rules of gravity, right? We don't know just how powerful it can be to spread out, have this group of people spread out thoughts of peace and love throughout the world. So you never know. You got song sheets. You have the words for Hey Abe on your song sheets. So I hope you'll sing along with me. Hey, what's that sacrifice you made? Hey, hey, Abe, what's that sacrifice you made? Hey, Abe. Another 2 times. Hey, Abe, what's that sacrifice you made? Hey, hey,
did you climb that holy hill, giving back your own free will, your own flesh and blood to kill? Is that what God really said, or what you heard instead? Hey, what's that sacrifice you make? Hey, hey, what's that sacrifice you make? Hey, and the liberties you take, were you counting up your gold from commodities you've sold, while the future market prices hold? You play your children like your chips, I say that's what you're gambling with. Hey, when you come to take his life, hey, Abe, will the angels stay your knife? Will you hold self-evident this message heaven sent to protect him from your influence? Or is it just the way things are as we watch our boys march off to war? What's that sacrifice you make? Hey, hey. Hey, hey. What's that sacrifice you make? Hey, hey. Let me hear you. Hey, hey. What's that sacrifice you make? Hey, hey. What's that sacrifice you make? Hey, thanks everybody.
And thank you, Susan. Very much appreciated. Andrew Lewis is our next guest speaker.
The Green Party of Canada believes that Canada can be an inspiration to the world again. An inspiration as peacekeepers. The Green Party also believes that our current government and recent governments have strayed dangerously far from our core strengths, our historical strengths as superb mediators, diplomats and peacekeepers. Our green vision for Canada is to restore those strengths. We need to restore our strengths, understanding that the foundation, the baseline for a just and safe world is respect for international law and our institutions. We must also clarify the role of our military, acknowledging the extraordinary skills, professionalism, and dedication of our armed services, not by playing second fiddle to the geopolitical aspirations of certain nations, but by being a leader, a world leader, in bringing humanitarian aid, serving when environmental disasters strike, and in peacekeeping. As your Green Party MP, my priorities briefly will be to work with the United Nations, to expand our role with the United Nations, and in particular being a leader in providing a standing, rapid response force that can be well equipped to go around the world serving the people of the world as they need it. We will also review our membership in NATO and NORAD. We shall work to abolish nuclear weapons around the world. We will ensure that Canada adheres to the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child and make sure that is the foundation of our foreign policy. And we will ensure that we follow the Geneva Convention and not turn a blind eye to the detainees in Guantanamo Bay. And we shall fight terrorism by using the traditional tools of criminal prosecution. And so what I would like to leave you with is that the Green Party, and with your help, we can be an inspiration to the world again. We can be peacekeepers. So let's join together and work for peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew. We have a treat now in store. There's a group of students from Gulf Island Secondary here who belong to a group called Global Awareness, and they're going to make us globally aware right now.
Hey everybody, thanks for coming out today. Yeah, as she said, we're from the Global Awareness group at the high school, and we have a quick game we'd like to play, but first Kelsey's going to start you off with the definition of war.
War is defined as any conflict with over 1,000 battlefield-related deaths per year.
Yeah, so I'm going to read a question, and these lovely ladies have the answers, which they're going to hold up, and I'm going to ask you, okay, put your hand up if you think it's A, B, or C, okay? So the first question is, currently, how many child soldiers are fighting in conflicts worldwide?
Is it A, 25,000, B, 250,000, or C, 500,000? Put your hand up if you think it's A.
25,000. Put your hands up.
If it's B, 250,000. C, 500,000. Okay. Actually, it's only 250,000, but
yeah, there are approximately 250,000 child soldiers fighting in more than 50 conflicts worldwide. Okay, question 2. What percentage of war casualties are civilian?
A, 35%. B, 90%. C, 70%. Put your hand up if you think it's A. And if you think it's B. And C. It's B, 90%.
Which are mostly women and children. Okay, question 3. How many of the last 6,000 years have been peaceful?
A, 300. B, 1,500. C, 3,000. Put your hands up if you think it's A. If you think it's B. Or if you think it's C. You guys are all right, it's A. Only 300 out of 6,000 years of human history have been peaceful. So that was just kind of give you an idea about how serious things are, and now I'm going to hand it over to Ciara, who's going to talk a little bit about what we do in Global Awareness.
Okay, so we all know that that is kind of the downside, but we can all do something to help. So our group is dedicated to raising awareness among our peers and community, and also improving people's ways of living around the world. In the last couple years, we have raised over $2,000 to donate to our sister school in Lesotho, Africa. Right on. We recently donated money for small villages to buy pigs so that they can become more sustainable and grow their own food and be able to sustain their communities. And Erica's got the pictures of the pigs. Through a school-wide game that helped to raise awareness, we supplied over 70 mosquito nets to malaria-infected areas in South Africa through the organization malariabites.org. Currently, we are working on providing school uniforms to over 90 AIDS orphans in Swaziland so they can get the chance to attend school.
and that's global awareness. Thank you guys for coming out today. Thank you.
Wasn't that great? Thank you so much. We'll have you back in 5 years. Our next speaker is Briony Penn, who is up there.
Okay, 3 minutes. Here we go. Good. I loved seeing the little ones doing the play on being yourself, getting picked on, and getting along. It sounds like being in politics. And I will give Stéphane Dion some tips on that too. I wanted to really just share with you some experiences I had yesterday, because I think they typified some of the real challenges that are facing us in this extraordinary place we find ourselves today, which is trying to provide leadership and governance on the question of peace. It's extraordinarily complicated, it's extraordinarily challenging. And yesterday I spent the day with Stéphane Dion and Michael Ignatieff. And it was a wonderful day for me, personally, because it was an announcement that the federal government is going to price carbon. Carbon tax is going to be on the Liberal platform. Now, that to me is it's a bit of an amazing movement in the right direction on the real source and problem of war, which is cheap energy. Largely, the wars around the world right now are on cheap energy, because there is no cheap energy, it's costly energy. And during that day, we gave a presentation to, at least Dion and I was on a panel, to a group of young entrepreneurs. They were from across Canada. They'd written essays explaining why they wanted to be entrepreneurs with an ecological bent. And in that room was 200 about young men and women from across Canada that had strong environmental backgrounds and ethics, but were interested in what I would probably describe as moral entrepreneurship. And if you look at the changing nature of war, where we have SWAT teams going after and protecting this corporate elite, these kinds of young men and women who are going to be putting their corporations' feet to the fire in terms of social and ecological justice issues is going to be one of the very important facets of this huge challenge. And they stood up time and time again asking questions and there was all four parties were represented. Adrian Carr was there from the Green Party, Nathan Cullen from the federal NDPs, myself, and Mark Wttewaall from the federal Conservatives. And I want to share two quick things. Was that the Greens and the NDP and myself, we were all pretty predictable. But what was more challenging is that the students called to action of all of us. They said, we don't want to hear you bickering anymore. The world's problems are too big for you to be getting into partisan politics. We want you to collaborate. I wish that we can, and I hope that all of you can give us guidance, because we are all people there that are trying to solve this problem collectively. Now, the hope for me was that Mark Wttewaall of the Conservative Party said, you know, my child just came back from Bristol University, and he had this strange thing that you pulled up on a pulley and you hung your clothes on it, and it dried clothes. And of course I looked at him with astonishment. But you know what? We have to remember that Salt Spring is miles ahead. 3 minutes? Half a minute. 30 seconds. That to me was the biggest sign of hope that I have ever experienced. And then the other sign of hope was that Michael Ignatieff came up to me and he said, Briony, I just want to let you know that we're all hearing a lot about Salt Spring right now in Ottawa. And I just think that that's really important, because amongst you here are some of the most extraordinary voices in Canada. And if I can provide any conduit, in fact, I want to be the new pipeline for ideas that flows between Salt Spring and Ottawa, because I think that's the only way we're going to start tackling these extraordinary problems of peace and war. Thank you.
I've been standing here and watching the comings and goings, and I have to say that over the past 45 minutes, there have been at least 200 people here. Let's see. Right next we have Phil Vernon.
Hello there. So I've been told that there are sound sheets that have been disseminated, but I'm going to remind people that we sing with our voices and our hearts and not necessarily our eyes. So the main thing is the line, "Bring 'em home." You can join me in on that part. If you love a world that's free, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. Bring the troops back from overseas, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. We won't fight a war for oil, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. It's underneath some foreign soil, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. Don't make the politicians sad, I know, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. They want to tangle with their foe, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. They want to test the Grand Ferry, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. With the blood of you and me, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. Will be no more brave young lives, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. For the gleam in someone's eyes, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. Bring 'em home, bring 'em home, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. Support our troops and say, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. If you love Afghanistan, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. There's better ways to lend a hand, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. They need hospitals and schools, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. Where love and justice rules, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. For now I may be right and I may be wrong, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. But I got a right to sing this song, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. And if you love a world that's free, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. Bring them back from overseas, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. Bring 'em home, bring 'em home, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. Support our troops and say, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. Bring 'em home, bring 'em home, bring 'em home, bring 'em home. Support our troops and say, bring 'em home, bring 'em home.
Thank you, Phil. That was just great. Sheila Reid has got a word for us.
Oh dear. Thanks, Irene. I'd also like to say something about the relationship between social justice issues, war, and the environment. And I'd like to refer it to the global south in our hemisphere. How can we ever fix the environment and put an end to war if countries are at war within themselves or each other? It's pretty clear that we're going to need peace based in social justice to do it. Looking at what is happening in the Western Hemisphere of the global South, we see that the global North is doing an awful lot of interfering It's mainly the US, but also European countries. However, the good news is that people from the global south have been fighting social justice issues for centuries, and they know how to do it. I should make a distinction right off. As far as I know, it's just Mexico and Colombia that are the holdouts against any kind of progressive change. I'd add Haiti to that if we were including the Caribbean in the discussion, and definitely some of the small countries in Central America if we're including them. But Mexico and Colombia are the big countries where the US has an enormous influence, and it looks like Colombia is being set up as the US proxy that will prevent the region from finding peace and independence. Mexico, on the other hand, is so dominated by US corporate interests that it has been willing to lead its own people into an ever-increasing poverty, using ever more repressive methods to control its population. I'd like to tell you a bit about a huge demonstration recently held in Mexico City. Recognizing the importance of social justice as a deterrent to war, it perhaps bears mentioning. There could be books filled with stories of the courage of the Mexican people to stand up to their government in places like Chiapas and Oaxaca in recent years. But this time it was in Mexico City. It was January 31st of this year when somewhere between 50 and 200,000 people filled the main plaza, known as the Zócalo, and a message was presented to the Senate. The demonstration went under the heading, "Sin maíz no hay país," without corn there is no country. And those taking the almost 500,000 signatures to the Senate were accompanied by actors who read from indigenous myths dealing with the central role of corn in their lives. Their demand was that NAFTA be renegotiated, that sovereignty over food and energy be established, and that many agricultural programs be redesigned. They also demanded a national program to eradicate hunger, a prohibition on genetically modified plant material, and other social reforms. The long protest march included tractors covered with cartoons protesting the dumping of U.S. genetically modified corn and U.S. beans in their country, and even included images of cows protesting the dumping of U.S. milk products. Increasing privatization of electricity was also a key issue in the mega march, since this is likely to increase under the Security and Prosperity Partnership. It seems that the demand for a more reliable source of energy in that agreement refers directly to the U.S. need for Mexican and Canadian oil. The background to the demands of this march is that NAFTA has been a main contributing factor to 30 million Mexicans now living in poverty. However, since the Mexican government likes the $24 billion I checked that figure, that flows into the country every year in the allowances sent home to Mexico from their family members working in the US, they have no incentive to change the present situation. They haven't even reacted strongly to the approximately 500 Mexicans who died trying to cross the border in 2006, and I haven't the figures for 2007. But the Mexican people are putting their lives on the line to change all this, and I think the working people in all three NAFTA countries are realizing they'll have to work together to get any changes that benefit the people and environment in all countries. In the meantime, the construction of peaceful societies in South America is being advanced daily, with periodic setbacks, usually due to U.S. interference, but by and large the trend remains a forward one. While the U.S. busies itself with destabilization plans in such countries as Venezuela, Bolivia, and Ecuador, these countries are involved in signing trade agreements with India and China, which will affect the U.S. greatly. We all need to believe in their possibility to achieve their goals, as this is the only way that they'll be on board, making their contribution toward the creation of the peaceful world we need.
Thank you, Sheila. And now, something special, the Raging Grannies.
like we're out at the old ball game. Feel the cool breeze blowing through the smoke and the heat. Hear the gentle voices and the marching feet, singing, call back the fire, draw the missiles down, and we'll call this earth our home. Peace is the bread we break, love is the river rolling, life is the chance we take when we make this earth our home. Gonna make this earth our home. We have known the atom, the power and pain. We've seen people fall beneath the killing rain. If the mind still reasons and the soul remains, it shall never be again. Peace is the bread we break, love is the river rolling, life is a chance we take when we make this earth our home. Gonna make this earth our home. Peace grows from a tiny seed as the acorn grows into the tallest tree. Many years ago I heard a soldier say, when people want peace, get out of their way. Peace is the bread we break, love is the river rolling, life is the chance we take when we make this earth our home. Gonna make this earth our home.
Wonderful, Grannies. I'm proud to be one. And I think the fact that I have 11 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren is a good enough reason to be here today. We have 3 more acts, and I'm not sure that's the correct word, 3 more events, and I'm hoping you'll all have the courage to face the wind for 3 more, because they're all really fun. And, we have 1 more speaker, that's Julian West, who will be now.
Other one? Yeah. Thanks, Eilleen. So I'm the federal candidate here for the New Democratic Party, and I just want to start by thanking my colleagues from the other parties, Andrew and Briony, for their comments. Briony talked about someone saying we needed to end the bickering in Canadian politics and the bickering in Ottawa, and whatever's true or not true about that, there's certainly not any bickering among the 3 of us. We get along very well. We actually see each other quite often at campaign events. The one person we don't see is our member of parliament for this riding, and I'm not sure. I've seen him once, yeah. But although we're from 3 different parties, we really do share a common goal, I think, about trying to bring a progressive voice back to this area, and I think the war is a crucial issue, and I do hope that it's something that Canadians are going to remember when they vote, and they're going to look at where all the parties stand on that. I think it's a very important issue. You've really already heard the NDP position on the war in a song from Phil Vernon and Pete Seeger. And that message is support our troops, bring them home. And that's the NDP message with regard to Afghanistan. I just going to add now a few personal thoughts. I went to see a wonderful movie this week at the University of Victoria. They were showing this movie, and I don't know if you've seen this film called The Kite Runner, or possibly you've read the book. I see some hands going up. Yeah, it's a marvelous, marvelous film about the last 3 decades in Afghanistan. And seeing that film, it brings home to you. It lets you see and feel the amount that has been taken away from the Afghan people by the decades of conflict there. It really brings it home on a really deep level. And I really do blame the Taliban for what's happened there. I mean, what happened under the Taliban was terrible. And people are right to be offended by that and upset with the Taliban regime. But I don't believe that the solution to those decades of violence is more war and more violence. I think there has to be a better way. I think that we in the West, if you want to call it that, in the international community, we could have stood up to the Taliban years before we did. We could have done it in a non-violent way, but we failed to do that. We went into Afghanistan at the wrong time, and we went in for the wrong reasons. We allowed ourselves to be led in by the United States, by George Bush, by Donald Rumsfeld, and by a succession of Canadian governments who have gone down the wrong path. We did not think for a minute that we were going in order to rescue the Afghan people from tyranny. The Afghan people know that, and they don't see us as liberators. I think there is a role for our military in Afghanistan as peacekeepers, as part of a comprehensive strategy of reconstruction. But that's not the situation we have in Afghanistan today. We've been stuck in a combat mission, a futile mission which we cannot win by military means. If we could have done it, we would have won it by now. We need to get our troops back to doing what Canadian troops have done best, peacekeeping. I think we've done what can be done militarily. We've done more than we committed to do. And we should increase our commitment to Afghanistan and the Afghan people, but we should do it through diplomacy, we should do it through aid, and we should do it through peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now we're going to have another local poet, Cherie, and I always mispronounce her name because I pronounce it properly, Geauvreau. Geauvreau?
It rhymes with go row your boat.
I'm a little cold.
It's 3 minutes on the dot.
Okay.
This is not so much a poem as an evocation, which means to call forth and to summon up, and an invocation, which means to petition for help and for support. From my heart, this dedication to my sisters in Afghanistan. Sharbat Gula, I remember you. Afghan girl, Afghan woman. Malali Joya, woman of courage and truth. This is for you. Peace begins at home. Voices, 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 voices voice now. It is up to us to find solutions to the problems before us. Dead thinking can't help us now. Those who choose not to think with their hearts will not be with us when we rise up and go forward, raising solutions for those who want to know. It is up to us to be responsible for our power as a community. Every individual who participates in this endeavor is needed for their unique contribution. It is up to you and you and you and me and you to claim and conserve our space, to caretake for all generations the gift of this salty isle in the Salish Sea. We will share what we gain together as community innovators, and this wisdom will be passed on to others to encourage and inspire for the good of all. It is up to us in this community to restore and repair relations wherever we are and wherever we can, in nature, in hearts, and inside ourselves, and to speak and act with confidence on our own behalf, as one, recognizing the family our island community is, floating in the vast quagmire of global militarized economies. So, it is up to us to find our agreements and then guide our community energy towards a decent life for all residents through coming generations here on beautiful, livable, peaceful Salt Spring Island. Yes, Yes is what we say when love leads the way.
Excellent.
When do this? Anytime now. How do this? No, why do this? Because we can. How do this? With fun. And we start with 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then more. All of creation encourages us. Peace is free and begins at home. Thank you.
In a moment, we're going to have a closing song led to us by Sue Newman. But before she does that, I want to take this opportunity to thank everybody for coming, to thank Terry Bibby for sharing her weaving with us. 2 of these were went to Hiroshima. 1 was done at the Fall Fair. We appreciate that. We appreciate the banners and your great courage in standing there through all this cold. Anyway, Sue, you're going to send us home with a song.
Just to take a tiny moment here, kids, if you would like to just stand beside me here like this. This is one little thing that we do in a theater class, and we usually do it in a circle, but we can imagine that we're all in a circle, and you can just do this with the person beside you and beside them if you'd like to. And you start off with some kind of image, and you create that image with your hand shapes, and then you squish it down and pass it on to the next person, and they create a new shape. So the shape that we're going to start with is a gun. We're going to start with this horrible, nasty gun that does all kinds of evil things, and we're going to go squish it down and turn it into something nice. So that's a little thing. Oh, she passes it back to me because it's a circle. And we put it in our pocket and we keep it close to our heart. So this is a call and response song, and it's right on the heels of Cherie's sentiments of having it all have peace beginning at home. So, so you're going to just echo what I sing. And then we're all singing together. And it goes like this. In your own backyard, in your own backyard, we can live in peace. We can live in peace. Though it may seem hard, though it may seem hard, we will live in peace. We will live in peace. All together now, you and me and he and she can live in harmony. Do the can live again. Can live in harmony. All together now, you and me and he and she can live in harmony. Well, in our own backyard, we can live in peace. We can live in peace. Though it may seem hard, we can live in peace. We can live in peace. All together now, you and me and he and she can live in harmony. Well, yes, we can live in harmony. One more time. We can live in harmony.
upon me.
Thank you, everybody. Just one quick thing. Would you check around your feet, and if you see anything other than dog poo, pick it up. I already picked up the dog poo half an hour before we started.
If I had a bell, I'd ring it in the morning, I'd ring it in the evening, all over this land. I'd hammer out danger, I'd hammer out a warning, I'd hammer out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. If I had a song, I'd sing it in the morning, I'd sing it in the evening, all over this land. It's a song of justice, it's a song of freedom, it's a song about love between my brothers and my sisters,